You always knew that you were adopted, as Harry and Christine took you in at 9 months old, mum and dad to you. What were you told?
Well, do you know, they did such a nice job. They did a little scrapbook with pictures of, well, there's only one picture of me and my biological mum, and they stuck that right at the front and did like little subtitles underneath saying, oh, Chanelle was born and on the 11th of November, her mum was Andrea, Andrea's birthday was, and so on and so forth. And then something like Andrea had to go to heaven, so Chanelle moved to live with Joan and Reg, who were my foster parents, who are now they've gone now, but they were lovely, they were brilliant. And then, you know, she came to live with us and so on and so forth.
Very open, very open, never a secret, but not particularly detailed. And as you grew up, those sort of, you know, bits of your life, you started to question about. You needed to fill in the blanks. You wanted to know where you came from.
Well, yeah, I think it's a massive part of your identity, isn't it? Knowing where you're from. And if I wouldn't have been told that I was adopted, I doubt I wouldn't have ever thought that it wasn't my mum and dad or whatever, because I've grown up, they are my mum and dad and they're brilliant people. But knowing that this is not where I properly came from was just, I wanted to know, well, where did I come from? Why did my mum die? And how did this happen? And, what, you know, it's all so vague, and it makes it more intriguing when it's
a secret.
Forbidden, yeah.
Well, it's something that really began to eat you up, that curiosity. You rebelled.
Well, yeah, I did. I mean, my mum and dad deserve a medal because I was just horrendous, for want of a better word. I was drinking, I was skiving school, I was constantly arguing with them, like, it was horrendous, like, it was hell, it was... And my brother as well, who had to grow up and see me behaving like this, it was appalling. But I felt like we were locking horns because I wanted to know something.
This is your adopted brother, yes?
Yes, my adopted brother, David, yeah, yeah. I mean, we're not biologically related, but he's my brother and he always will be my brother. But, yeah, we were just locking horns, especially kind of my dad and I, because he's very strong-willed, as am I, which was always a bit of an issue. And I see now they were completely protecting me and they didn't want to hurt me and they wanted to protect me from such a brutal truth. But at the time, I just thought it's so disrespectful. You know, it's my family, it's not yours.
Well, you used that as a weapon against them because you said, and I can imagine for your mum, who's your adopted mum, when you shoot that sort of withering arrow of "you're not my mum,"
I know.
Must have been so hurtful to her.
She was crying. But I was glad that she was crying at that moment in time because I was just... It was horrible.
I mean, the situation got very, very serious, and at 15 years old, you attempted to take your own life.
Yeah, I felt like it had gone on from, like, maybe 12, 13, when you get to a teenager and you kind of want to discover yourself. From then on, it just spiralled and spiralled, and by the time I was maybe 14, 15, like you say, it had just culminated into something so massive. Our whole family life revolved around me wanting to know. I ran away, like I say, I drank, smoked, whatever, and nothing was getting through to them. So I just didn't know what else to do. Not that I advocate trying anything like that for attention, I don't. I think it's disgusting and my behaviour was appalling. But I'm 26 now, I'm not 15. Oh, definitely, I didn't want to die.
I mean, you could very well have succeeded and then you wouldn't be here now.
No, and that would have been... I mean, it was horrible for my mum and dad to have to see anyway, but if...
They were protecting you, and it was soon after that attempt that you were told the truth.
Yeah.
And that is a shocking and harrowing truth. And that's the fact that she was a prostitute, she'd been murdered, she'd fallen in with the wrong crowd, become a drug addict. To provide for you, she'd become a dealer, she ended up in prison. In Wilmslow, and so when she got out of prison she returned to prostitution, and then on the 5th of April 1988 she was strangled to death by Keith Pollard, who picked her up as a client. And this is the shocking bit, and I know that this is all in here, so you know, I don't want to upset you, but she was strangled to death. Her body was so mutilated she was only identified by a birthmark on her leg. He was then sentenced to life in prison that November and remains there to this day.
Yeah.
You can sort of understand why they didn't want to tell you.
Oh, God, yeah. And I'm a mother now, and if anything like that Blakely needed to know anything like that, he wouldn't know until he was 18. I would do the exact same as what my mum and dad have done, you know. And obviously hindsight's a massively powerful thing. And if I would have known the reason why they wanted to protect me, then I wouldn't have pushed the issue.
Yes.
But obviously
you don't
I couldn't have known without knowing.
So, so then finding out that truth, then you have that burden of the truth. And how did you cope with that?
Do you know, it was kind of a double-edged sword, because immediately a massive weight was lifted off my shoulders and family life got a lot easier with, you know, my mum and dad and my brother, because there weren't the arguments, there wasn't that kind of pressure anymore, me wanting to know, and there wasn't the torment. But at the same time, finding out something like that was just horrible. I mean, I couldn't even, I'm really speechless, clearly, and I was so speechless, I didn't even know what to say.
What it meant you could do then was to begin the process of finding this family that you didn't know.
Yeah, because I had 2 sisters and my grandma, well, my nanan, and obviously all their family and, you know, extended family. And so then I, you know, got in touch with social services and found them, which was, I mean, I wouldn't have gone through life without doing that. It's
what did they tell you about her? Finally being able to ask about your mum?
Yeah, well, I got a letter before I actually met them. They'd all written me a letter the day that I got adopted, and it was really sad. It's in the book, and the one that my nana wrote was just so heart-wrenching, like saying that, oh, you know, your mum was a good person and I tried everything to, but she got in with the wrong crowd, and it was just so, I mean, it's in there, it's horrible. But then meeting them, I was kind of detached from it, but they were crying, and I looked most like my mum out of all of us. Really? And I mean, it must have been haunting a little for them, really.